So this is the first time I've encountered a bad guy from a comic book who shares my name, but he happens to be Abomination. Like, couldn't you have gotten a better name? Like, The Incredible Hulk is directed by Louis Leterrier, I think is how you pronounce his name, and written by Zach Penn and Edward Harrison. This movie stars Edward Norton, Liv Tyler, Tim Roth, and William Hurt. Now, in case there's anyone out there who still doesn't know the story of the Hulk, for those who need a refresher too, basically it's about this guy named Bruce Banner, who is this, again, really intelligent scientist who specializes in gamma radiation, and he tests some on himself, and he ends up becoming this gigantic green monster whenever he's mad. But the interesting thing about The Incredible Hulk, this movie, is that it's not really an origin story. It takes place what people like to call in medias res. It takes place in the middle of this problem he's having. At this point in his story, he has pretty much exiled himself to Brazil, and he's trying to control his anger, and he's trying to find a cure for the Hulk thing. But when General Ross and the rest of the US Army are able to track him down to Brazil, he becomes this fugitive. He goes on the run, still trying to look for a cure. Now you can tell the Incredible Hulk is kind of like the black sheep of these Marvel movies, like the ones that have to do with the Avengers, because among the original four heroes who got their own movies, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and the Hulk's the only one who didn't really get a sequel. This was his only movie. And I can kind of understand that because it's been proven that it's kind of hard to bring him to the big screen, especially in this day and age. I mean, back then you just get Lou Ferrigno to, paint his body green. He was this big guy. But now, given that lots of fans don't like Ang Lee's version of Hulk, which I've never been able to see, and, response to this was also like a bit more on the positive side, but still a bit mixed. It is kind of tough to bring this story to the big screen. And I do also kind of have a mixed reaction towards The Incredible Hulk. It is very entertaining, but I thought was lacking a lot of stuff that not only made Iron Man really good, but also what I assume gave the Ang Lee Hulk some good points, which were people complain that it's too contemplative, it's very personal, and I thought that was completely missing from this one. First of all, The Incredible Hulk was released the same year as Iron Man, and while the special effects in Iron Man were really, really great, special effects here aren't as good, although it is kind of understandable, because whereas in Iron Man, your special effects really revolve around, suits of armor and stuff, here you're trying to make this big green monster thing. So obviously when you put it side by side with like real world objects and people, it really will not look good. I mean, it won't look like seamless. You know it's not real. Special effects though aren't like bad. And I'm not saying that. Like the Hulk definitely looks better from afar, like instead of like the close-ups, and actually makes me think this should have been directed in a style wherein we could see the action from afar, not always up close. I would have appreciated if it was like, news cameras and stuff and just seeing the Hulk tear stuff up. You do have to appreciate the detail though when it comes to detailing the character models of both the Hulk and the Abomination, because you could have again easily gone with a video gamey kind of just huge mass of green flesh, but here they really do take pains to add little details like, frayed hair and clothing and, just the muscle detail. And no matter what you think of Louis Leterrier as a director, you have to admit he does make good-looking movies. He went on to direct Now You See Me, and you kind of get that same vibe from like the first 30 minutes of this movie, which are shot in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. I guess that's because Brazil does lend itself to good cinematography, especially the place where they shot, where it's just all of these houses stacked together, and just makes for really, really nice sweeping shots. And literally everything gets so much better in these first 30 minutes. First 30 minutes are definitely my favorite part, and they're really, really incredible to watch. The music gets better here. Like the music doesn't kick in as hard as it does in the first 30 minutes, and really gives you that whole thriller feel. The cinematography is better. I thought the writing was marginally better. The acting is definitely better. What I like so much about these first scenes is that you can really feel the fear in the air. Not just the fear of maybe Bruce Banner's gonna get caught by the army, but also the fear that if someone, really ticks him off, he's gonna turn to the Hulk and he's gonna ruin everything. And really, the rest of this movie is not able to replicate that sense of fear. After a while, you just kind of want to see the Hulk tear things up, but I really like how these first scenes make it a point to show that Bruce Banner turning to the Hulk, number one, it's not good news for anybody, not including Bruce Banner, and it's really, really unproductive for him because when he wakes up, he doesn't know where he is, and he has to pretty much beg on the streets for money just to get himself new clothes, and he has to kind of figure out, how to reorient his life. The acting overall is actually really good in this movie, except for Liv Tyler maybe, but I don't really blame her for that because she has kind of a small role. But she's always either whispering or screaming, and it's weird. Edward Norton and William Hurt, though, do really good jobs as both Bruce Banner and General Ross. And despite their roles being quite underwritten, you do kind of get a sense of, a deeper character from them. I think Edward Norton is a fantastic athlete, one of my favorite actors of all time. And I think he really is able to show the brainy side as well as the desperate, I need to survive side of Bruce Banner. While William Hurt also is able to catch those little subtle nuances about the fact that, his daughter hates him. Tim Blake Nelson also has a very short part in this movie, and although it's short, he really does leave a mark. He's very unique. He's not so serious as the other ones. Although, in my opinion, this is not just because he shares my name, his character. I think Tim Roth really does steal the show here. Tim Roth, again, is a fantastic actor. What I love about him is that not only is he this tough, soldier, he really begins to show that he is hungry for this power. That when he first sees the Hulk, you can kind of see him like kind of like, okay, what is this? I like it because it's so powerful, and he does get more thirsty for this power, and he really sells it. Unfortunately, I think the Incredible Hulk again is riddled with a lot of problems. For one, like I said a while ago, it's not very personal. This is definitely an action movie, although the best action movies still have good emphasis on character, and here, not really. In fact, after the first 30 minutes of this movie, it's either like really slow, dramatic kind of stuff, or it's all explosions. And one big misconception is that a movie is only draggy when it's all, slow conversations. That's not true, in my opinion. In my opinion, if you have like constant explosions and action, it can get draggy too. The way Louis Leterrier directs this action is competent, although the way he directs more dramatic parts comes off as very overdramatic. There's the whole romance thing between Edward Norton's character and Liv Tyler's character. It just it doesn't feel as sincere as you want it to. It just feels kind of like cookie cutter, really. But my biggest problem with this movie is the fact that it's criminally underwritten. Really, I'm fine with the plot. I really actually like how the plot centers more around on him trying to find the cure, and him being like out there in the wilderness and him trying to control himself. I like all of that. It's just that this conflict does not come out in the characters at all. We don't know anything about uh, Bruce Banner. It's really just Edward Norton carrying it, but he's not given any material to work with. Really, the dialogue also becomes quite stale. It becomes very it's like the kind of dialogue you write just so you can move from one scene to the next. Doesn't really add to anything, and I really wish all of these characters had more to them because there's such a dynamic between uh, Bruce Banner and General Ross and his daughter, and just them coping with this huge green Hulk monster. I also wanted to hear more of Bruce Banner talk about what that's like. There really is so much potential in telling the Hulk story, but it's just I can recognize that it is hard to pull off because there's just so much going on. So in the end, I'd say The Incredible Hulk is an okay movie, I suppose. None of these Marvel movies, in my opinion, are bad. It's just that some definitely are weaker than the others, and it's a good thing Iron Man came first. Because if The Incredible Hulk came first, I don't think people would be as interested in Iron Man. But because Iron Man set the bar so high, I think The Incredible Hulk was able to kind of ride those coattails. Again, there's lots of promise in the Hulk story. It's just that I don't think they're gonna tap into it because compared to the other superheroes, the Hulk isn't very successful, and he doesn't have a good-looking face in the front. So I don't think they're gonna make another film like they say they're going to. However, the Hulk, like Iron Man 1, it's still very watchable. Like, I can watch it whenever I want. It's just what I mean by that is that whenever you catch it on TV or something, it is like very accessible entertainment. It's always fun to watch. So that's my review for The Incredible Hulk. What did you guys think of it? What do you think is better, this or the comic books? Because I do not read the comic books, so tell me what you guys think. Whether you agree with me or not, please leave a comment. Let's have a conversation.